So we have a quorum, so I will call this meeting to order at 7:45 p.m. Nice and on time.
Almost.
All right, so let's see, real quick. We can do the minutes for last week. I know Ann sent them out. Did anyone have any questions or anything they wanted to review on that?
Nope. Ann hit all the high points when she made the fixes.
All right, so I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for the June 26th. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
28th, I think.
July 28th. I'm not even
July 28th. Oh,
The July 28th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? No one. All right. Citizens speak. Donna, I see you are in the crowd. Do you have anything you'd like to add now, or would you just like to hang and watch, or have something later on that you'd like to speak about?
Just hang and watch for now. Thank you.
All right,
So-
that sounds good to me.
Will, do you need to read the statement from the,
Yeah, I do. You're right. Hang on now. I gotta,
I actually have it up if you want me to read it.
Yeah, why don't you
I
do
don't-
that, Mark? I'm
okay.
trying to pull up my agenda here. My computer was down, and I'm just being able to open it now.
Okay. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, sub 20, relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the August 24th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. public meeting of the Norfolk Recreation Commission shall be physically closed to the public in order to avoid group congregation. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software at zoom.us for remote access. This application will allow users to review the meeting and send comments or questions to the chair via chat function. Submitted text comments and questions may be read into the record at the appropriate points in the meeting if they are in line with the town's public comment policy. The meeting will be recorded for future broadcast by Norfolk Community Television. For more information on getting connected and using the video conference features, please visit norfolkma.us, assets, files, news, resident Zoom guide.pdf.
That was probably the best reading I've ever heard of it. So. It is a mouthful, that's for sure.
It is, and then some.
All right, so I'm still opening up, but I believe, yeah, here we go. So programming updates. Now that we've read that, Ann, do you want to take that away and just?
sure. So programming updates, just to quickly summarize the dollars for the summer. Right now, it looks like we've netted about 25,000. With the CARES Act, so some of my expenditures are reimbursable under the CARES Act, and assuming that all goes through, we should be receiving about another 12,000 in reimbursements. Moving on to the fall, I'm definitely taking it slower than I have in the past. I've usually, by now, we usually have our brochure out, and registration has set for the first week of September. But with school starting a little bit later, I've held back. Our programming will not be nearly as in-depth as it has been in the past. However, I am pursuing the remote learning opportunities, which essentially will be a program. So I've only scheduled a couple of after-school programs. One is scratch coding for grades 3 through 6, and one is also 3D design and printing for after-school 3 through 6, and that's going to be starting in October. I typically don't start programs in September. I think any school year, kids need time to adjust. This school year, I think kids really need time to adjust. So I'm taking a little bit at a time. I have one room I can have after school programs in. I cannot use the school, although they have said that I can use the gym one night. So if I can have pickleball for adults, I will. And pickleball is a lower risk sport. As far as sending the brochure out, because I don't have everything done or close to being done at this point. I'm thinking of sending more of a listing out. Sending out the brochure is an expensive endeavor, but when I have 14 pages of programs, it's just cost of doing business. It's about 16 cent printing and mailing a 16-page brochure is over $2,000. So I don't think at this point, for the number of programs that we have, that really is feasible. I am going to ask Kathy to look in to see if how much it would cost to mail like a newsletter, and we may just do a listing and to give people an idea from that. So that's where we are with programming. Any questions?
Sorry, I'm gonna unmute myself. Is there a reason we don't just use the email since it's such a small? I mean, I know that there's less we hit people.
Well, we use email too. We always use it. We use email as well. I send notices out even when the brochure is out, and I use Facebook to let people know it's there. People do seem to like to get something in the mail, and the kids can see it too. So I think they like that. A lot of what I'm looking into really will probably depend on the cost. So I can also give you a quick update of where I am with the remote learning. I have talked to the Grange, and I've met with them. I actually met, excuse me. I'm sorry. I met with them today. They have a room that's very conducive to setting up desks. We can really easily fit 16 people at desks, and that would still allow for every child to have like a 3x3 space of their own, plus 7 feet at least on every side. So if we had to fit more, we could, but I'm actually trying not to, jam pack a room. So they are charging rent. It's $500 a week, which is $100 a day. So we have that secured, and we also have the library secured for 6 desks. But I am going to ask if we could possibly bring in a few more, like even 2 to 6 more into the meeting room, because there would be space, I believe, but I have to double check. And that's only for 3 days. I did hear back from St. Jude's today, and they said that the priest is just back from vacation, so he would be reviewing it. They asked me about what we would be doing for cleaning, and then they also said they would have to go to the archdiocese because there would be a lease, and the lease would come from them. So I don't know that that's all going to happen by September 14th, but even if it happens later and we're still doing remote learning, it will be helpful. Even if it's a week or 2 later, it will still be helpful, assuming that we have the numbers. I haven't opened registration. I did email Ingrid today and asked her if she had some sort of gauge on how many people are interested. And of course, the first people that would get preference are first responders and teachers and so essential employees.
Does anyone have any questions or additional comments on that? So, Anne, did you have anything else to add in terms of either programming or remote learning?
Nope.
All right, so we will move on then to the drive-in movies. So unfortunately, Charlie isn't here today. He's been taking the lead on a lot of this. So just to recap, at our meeting last week, we discussed kind of in lieu of the
last month.
Increase.
Sorry.
Last month, not last week,
sorry.
last month.
Just in case anyone is thinking there was another meeting.
No, last month, sorry. We discussed kind of in lieu of doing the summer concert series that we traditionally do to try to focus on doing a drive-in movie, either late summer or early fall, which at this point is looking more like early fall to middle fall. And we had kind of left it at trying to find a location to be able to host it, because in order to reserve screens, get movies, and kind of all the other logistical support that needs to happen, you need to have a location first. So we had decided that the Holmes Field would be our preferred location for it. So I think last week Charlie finally made contact with the Holmes family, and unfortunately the Holmes family was not interested in hosting the event this year. I understand it stinks for us, but they own the property, but the world is different. I think that's the way they put it, and I probably couldn't say it better myself. So we're kind of back at square one. So I was hoping to kind of have a little discussion as to where we think we should go from now. So some alternative locations that we talked about were the MBTA parking lots, which present issues in that we don't own them. And I'm not sure how willing the MBTA is to give us their space to do that. If we decide to go that route, we can ask. I know the channels I could go to ask those things. What the answer will be is our best guess. We had discussed the churches, which we just discussed, with the remote learning centers, and I would have to imagine that the process would probably be the same for that as it would be for this. And another idea I had was maybe asking KP High School. I think the KP High School parking lot could be a potential location. I don't know what the deal with fall sports are. I'm not involved with that. I don't know what the deal with band is, who's using the space, if they'd even be interested. But in terms of spaces that offer what we need in terms of area and layout, it's one of the other few spaces that I could think of. So I'd leave it to other people now to chime in and see what your thoughts are and where we should go from here.
So, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
The thought I had is that the place I've been using all the time to go running. What about the Pond Street? I mean, it's got the parking lot. We can have just everybody park and kind of put distance. And like, say, if we used, how there's those two dividers between the two sections of parking. If we just had used one section of dividers and then just put I'm thinking of like we put the screen up over that baseball that's on if you're looking at it, it's on the right hand side. Then everybody would be essentially just parking in the parking lot, and we can put the things up there, and it's our own property. We don't have to pay anybody for it.
So Mark, just so I understand, so if there's the large baseball field on the right side.
Yes, the one we put the new stuff in.
So the large baseball on the right side. So normally people would park so they aren't looking at that, but you're suggesting they are looking at that, correct?
Right.
So they would park at a 90-degree angle from when they usually park, the way they usually park?
No. Park exactly the same way that they normally park. I mean, I guess they could do it that way, but I was thinking they just park there and then we just put the screen out in the field. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
So there are only 4 rows of parking and there are trees in between. Although some of the trees are gone because they're dead.
Right. And then I don't know how high it is. I guess that was my other thought how many people are going to show up for this? Are we thinking?
I think that the setup, the way, if people park the way you would now, it's 4 rows. So you'd only go 4 rows deep and you'd be very wide. And I think you'd have it might be an awkward angle to see a screen.
Yeah.
And then there's a fence and the dugout. If you put it in.
The other side is kind of angled, but the other side doesn't have any trees, does it? Are there any trees that have survived on that side, on the left-hand side?
I should know this, but they're definitely bare spots.
I'm looking at the map, and it's looking like it's pretty barren on that side.
We lost a bunch of trees to gypsy moths one year.
My only thought is how big would the screen have to be? So if you parked cars, so what we're suggesting is we park them perpendicularly to the field. Is that what we're saying?
Well,
Park them just like
Mark
you'd normally
wasn't.
park them. Yeah, no,
No,
I wasn't
Right.
saying long wise. I was saying the way you'd normally park, and then put the if we're doing the left hand side, I guess, out in the soccer fields. So you just put it out in the soccer fields, and I don't know how high up it goes.
Yeah, I know.
Because
the
you
40
go down, that was the reason I didn't pick the soccer fields, because it goes down a little bit before it levels out. And
I mean, you
still,
have
I
structure in
think
the
it would be
middle, too.
I think if you would only have 4 rows going back.
well, I guess in my mind, so each row has 10, say 10 cars, maybe 15. Are we really going to have 60 people show up, or 60 families show up?
think
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly, if we don't have at least 60, I think we shouldn't be doing it anyway.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's like, I hope we have closer to 100. I mean,
Okay. Well, then, yeah, then forget my suggestion.
So,
I mean,
Ann, I know Lisa Mobley very well. Her son and my son they're at military college together. So I can reach out to Lisa, the principal of
Mhm.
KP. I can text her tonight. We're on a texting basis just because our sons are at college together. So I can ask her thoughts on the KP High School parking lot. I'm sure she'd probably have to get approval from Superintendent Zinni as well. But absolutely, I don't see why that wouldn't be an option, especially since everyone's remote. Although that being said, now that I say it, maybe there might be some COVID restrictions that we're unaware of.
So I guess I think if everyone's in a car, the group of 50 wouldn't apply. And everyone being in a car would also be spaced out. So in case they got out of the car, they'd still be socially distanced. And now that I've said that the group of 50 wouldn't apply, I think that might be subjective.
Agree, because if they get
Yeah.
out of the car,
I think it does apply.
it does apply, which makes this very complicated with the new orders, because you cannot have over 50 people in a
Yeah.
gathering. And
Well,
did
and
the church, the church, you had said that the church was just back from vacation, so we don't have an answer at the church yet, correct?
Well, that was regarding the remote learning, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but the priest just got back from vacation anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
And I don't think anyone asked them about the parking lot, but I think if you're involving the archdiocese, and it might be a little more complicated than one would think.
So
Yeah,
I'm
so I
happy
would-
to reach out to anyone at the high school, but I'm not sure how the restrictions, etc.
Yeah,
Well,
I
maybe
would like
we
to
can
know
just
how that
ask-
applies.
But we can just, I mean, I do think it might be subjective. So, I mean, a lot of towns are doing the drive-ins, or they were doing it even when it was 100, but 100 people in, if you have 50 cars, you have over 100 people, and people were definitely doing it. So, I don't know
Well,
if
it's worth a try. I don't mind asking her at all and just seeing, hey, we're thinking about trying to roll out some ideas. I'll definitely just pick her brain and see if it's even an option. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everyone agree?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is the most up-to-date order. I'm reading this and it says outdoor gatherings in unenclosed spaces are not subject to capacity limitations. I don't know. That's
So
the July 2nd order though. Let me see.
No, yeah.
So there
Is
is
it
a
number
current
46?
There is a current one, because I have to deal with it for my field hockey club, and
I think
have
it's
to read
order
it every day.
46, Will. I
Yeah,
think
I'm trying to
40
find. Yeah, that's just a million orders out here.
Yeah,
It's the most recent one, and you can't have any more than 50 people. And if there's more than 50 people, I just don't even think you can do it. And people are supposed to be masked as well, but they're in the cars. Yeah, the latest order is 50, and that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, it might have to be something that we should run by the Board of Health, maybe. I mean, the problem is I don't want I don't
You
want
know what, why don't I,
somewhere.
you know what, let me see if, let me look on the website. I mean, sometimes it's surprising what they have on the website. If I look on mass.gov reopening, and who knows, maybe they have something about drive-in movies. I think I say that, and I actually think they do. I think I have seen something about drive-in movies. So let me, reopening. General business guideline. Well, if you want to continue to address this.
I have it right here. I have it right here. And yeah, as of July 6th, capacity must be reduced to allow for adequate distancing between cars. Customers must remain in their vehicles at all times except when purchasing concessions or using the restroom. So that's on mass.gov. It's in regards to drive-in movie theaters.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can do that.
Yep.
We can just require people, that they stay in their cars.
Yep. Lines must have markers to ensure distancing. I can send this link to you, Anne.
Yeah. No, you know what? I'll.
Or you can just look. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I when we were talking, I'm like, I think I've seen that somewhere. So it does sound like we could do that. But again, I mean, I think that every place is pretty strict about, some places are stricter than others, I should say. The high school is pretty strict. But then again, there's not a sign up about wearing a mask anywhere there. So if you ask Principal Mobley, that would be.
Yeah, I'll definitely ask Dr. Mobley. Absolutely. I'll ask her.
Okay.
On it.
Just one last question, and I promise. The MBTA stuff, we have to ask if it's after hours or because we're having a gathering, because I thought it was just kind of a catch as catch can after their 9 to 5.
So when I asked a long time ago, I asked Blythe about using the MBTA lot, and I was thinking of the larger lot. And Blythe said that we did not own it.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking of the upper lot near Dunkin' Donuts though. And I have to say, I don't know that, I wonder if we own that, because I mean, that's been there for, I mean, obviously the MBTA has been there for a long time too, but there are,
I was thinking of the other one, like by Walgreens.
Right, but that's the lower lot, which is larger, okay. That someone said is not in very good shape and might be busier. But I honestly, I don't remember the last time I was even down in that lot, so I don't even remember.
But even if it's not in good shape, it's a wide open space, and I can't imagine that there's going to be a whole lot of cars parked there at 7 o'clock at night when we start this.
Well, I think because we don't own it, we'd have to ask. So, but the upper lot, Charlie had actually, in an email to me, had suggested maybe the upper lot. And that is square. And I think there may be a better chance that we own that. I don't know if anyone knows, but I don't know off the top of my head.
My only concern with that, and this is something we're just going to have to live with, is Dunkin' Donuts is right there, and then there's also that little market, and I could see everybody going, well, I'll just go there. It's not that we can't help that, so we can only tell them what the rules are.
So I just got a message from Will that he's in the waiting room.
again.
Hold on. Sorry.
I had to just keep closing it. Oh, there he is.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I don't get it. On my phone, I don't get a notice that you're in the, I have to.
No, my bad. My internet kicked me out. I just lost internet in my whole house. So I'm back. Sorry.
So I also live I live right behind that lot and on the upper lot. I bike ride with my daughter almost every day down a Walgreens through the path. The upper lot's in totally fine condition. It's totally fine. Like it's fine. There's no issues with it. If that was going to be somewhere that you'd want to do, just FYI.
I don't think it could hurt to ask. I mean, I just don't think it would hurt to ask.
And it's so big.
But I'm not
so
the one
big.
doing the asking. Will's doing the asking. So
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't have any problem doing it. What I can tell you is that I know that on occasion that they feel charitable. So every year the Lions use the power box over there at the parking lot for the Christmas tree sale. And they kind of just do that every year. So I don't know what it's going to entail for them to shut down a lot for the night. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I don't know what their protocol is. But if it's something we want to ask about, I can ask. It doesn't hurt.
So I just going from my memory, I think either lot would be large enough. Is that correct?
I think so. I think the upper lot may be better. Just I think the lower lot, the upper lot doesn't have lights. I don't think so. There's nothing in the way. In the middle, I don't think.
When you say upper lot, you mean the one by Dunkin' Donuts, or not?
No, that would be the one by like Silla's.
Said.
Okay, so that's the upper lot. Sorry.
The one by Silla's is massive. It's huge and it's always empty. There's not a car there. It's open. It hasn't been used in so long that there's like some grass growing up in between the cracks of like the pavement. You know what I mean? Like there's no cars there. It's like desolate.
What I'm trying to think of, what I can't remember is I'm pretty sure the lower lot in the center of town by Dunkin' Donuts has lights in the middle of it, like light posts.
It actually might. I think I remember. I think you're right, Will.
I can't remember, and I don't think the upper lot does, other than around the periphery. Like I can't remember, to be honest. But that could.
All right. I'm going to go tomorrow and take pictures and send it to everyone. So, but that's it. You know what? I hadn't even really thought, Kim, that was a really good point about it's hardly ever used anymore, right?
You're on mute.
It's never used. We bike there. My kids do like wind sprints up there. Literally, because I live right behind, there's a path that cuts through to my house, and there's nothing. There's, like I said, there's grass growing in between like some of the cracks in the tar because it's just desolate. No one's there, and it's big. It's really big. That would be a perfect space, and it's very private and safe. The train. I mean, it's like, I think it is lit up at night, to be honest. Or at least I think there's a couple of sets of lights back there, not lit up like a football field, but there might be a couple sets of lights.
I'm honest concerned about that is more if you had big light posts in someone's viewing angle.
Nope, there's none of that. It's wide open.
Yeah, it's
nice and flat too.
Beautifully flat.
Yeah, if that's what we want, I could certainly ask. And
go for it, Will.
Yeah,
you're very persuasive. So
I could try, but it's still the MBTA. Let's not forget.
Ann's comment about, do we own the lot near Dunkin' Donuts? I think it's the MBTA that plows it and stripes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you they surveil it too, because I got a ticket up there for not having my car inspection done. So they have the transit police there too. It's definitely the MBTA property. All right, so I think that's a good spot to leave it at. If anyone has any other ideas in the meantime, it's probably helpful to have a third option here because with this being the second, because you never know how long it's going to take or.
Well, I have to say one advantage to having the lot in Norfolk versus at KP High, I think the intent was to have this for Norfolk residents, and it might be a little bit questionable if we do it at King Philip High School in Rentham for Norfolk residents only.
No, I agree with that. I think this is the ideal, beyond the Holmes Field, I think this is the ideal option for us, but it just, anytime I'm dealing with the MBTA, I just get the shivers. So you never know.
Okay.
All right. So does anyone have anything else to add on that for this?
You said you wanted a third? I don't know
Well-
that this is valuable, but what about the Audubons? That section that they have, they do overflow parking sometimes.
Oh,
And it's
that's a
long,
thought.
so
That's this big square area, isn't it?
it's a little less than square, but
Oh.
we could still make it work.
I like that. Well, let's see what happens. We'll just keep punching down the list and
Sure.
Yeah.
and we'll see. I think we have enough leeway here to get it done. So I will get on asking about that. All right. So fall to field allocation, a little bit less exciting nonetheless, but more just as important. So what I know about this is that we kind of have two competing. We kind of have two organizations looking for field space in the fall right now, and you can probably talk in far more detail than I can, but I know that baseball is looking to do an expanded fall season in terms of what they typically do because of the lack of alternative sports available. And I know some of our soccer leagues are also looking to play, which in terms of using field space and for soccer and outfields of baseball fields has presented some issues. So Anne, if you want to just kind of
Sure.
talk about it.
So first off, Juventus is the private club that has been using our fields for a while, and they are using the Freeman Kennedy fields. They actually use a field that isn't a regulation size, and they just move the goals around so they don't wear out the grass. I mean, it's really actually very great. It works out well for them, and it works out well for us. So they're all set. Gary, I heard from Gary confirming today that he wants to use the soccer fields at Freeman Kennedy for the boys' practice as they have in the past. I think before I say yes, I'm probably going to make sure he comes through with a turf field for the field hockey league and gives me an answer, because it's kind of a little bit tricky sometimes getting answers. So, but that's the normal space he uses. So the Soccer Club of Norfolk, which is the travel league, is going to be running their league, and KIPSA is going to be running their league. The league that's in question is was the Norfolk Lions Youth Soccer, but now it's known as Norfolk Youth Soccer, and they're voting tonight. So I have told baseball that if Norfolk Youth Soccer does not run their program, there's a very good chance that we can not use the outfield of the Babe Ruth Field at Pond Street for soccer fields. With that said, I think travel soccer would normally use a field over there, because they use 7v7 and 9v9. They would make probably a 9v9 over there, but I'm hoping that can be done on field C, because which is the very backfield, because the Lions won't be there. So we'll know that, again, Norfolk Youth Soccer is voting tonight. And I did hear from Chris LaFleur this weekend, and I had been asking them the whole time. I mean, I've been asking them for 2 weeks, are you going to be using, this is what I want to do, this, baseball wants to play. And he forwarded me an email this weekend that was written last week from another person saying, we'll use the Pond Street the outfield. And I told him, I hadn't, he said, oh, I thought I sent this to you. And he hadn't, but I think it's still doable that if Lions doesn't play, that we can find other space.
All right.
But I will say, I do think soccer gets the priority in the fall. I mean, considering baseball's already had a season.
Yeah, I mean, there are other baseball fields too we have.
Yep.
I mean, if terms of the big diamond, Freeman's an option. I know they don't always like it, but that's an option. And then the little diamond, there's plenty of little diamonds. From what I've seen so far, there's not a huge amount of games. I think there's more they're planning, but
Well, the only field that they wouldn't be able to use, worst case scenario, is the large field at Pond Street.
yeah, and I mean, there's the Babe Ruth at the Freeman. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
So, we'll see.
So I think, so what do you think about the fall field allocation of me gathering all the information, and then we could do a Zoom meeting, but we don't have to do a Zoom meeting.
Well, I think it all depends on how many people are asking. If it's just those few groups, I mean, do we really just sit everyone
I can
down?
just sort of sort it out. I will say that this has been ongoing for a long time. I don't get the rosters that I'm supposed to get. I really was pretty upset with softball. I mean, they hadn't given me their field user application. They hadn't paid me that, and I'm kind of chasing them down for it. And I don't want to do that. I mean, it gets old very, very fast. So I'm almost ready to say, I'll give you space as soon as I get everything from you. Give me an application and then I'll talk to you, because chasing insurance binders. And I told them at the last February allocation, it's like, don't even ask unless you have an insurance binder in your hand. And people still, Norfolk baseball had their stuff. Juventus, I get all of it. I don't even have to ask for it. I get it.
I think sometimes outside organizations are a little bit more on top of it because they don't have necessarily the relationship
Yeah.
the in-town leagues have. But I would say if you can't resolve some of these issues over email or phone, whatever, we can have a meeting. But if it's just those few organizations,
Okay.
I don't think we need to drag everyone into a Zoom meeting.
All right. Some of it is just a little bit of a waiting game, but once I hear from Norfolk Youth Soccer, which is tonight, supposedly, I have been told a few times that they were going to have the vote. So hopefully it really will be tonight. And once I know that, that's going to really sort of determine a lot of it. Okay.
Was there anything you wanted to say on the COVID-19 guidelines? I know you were with Board of Health and
as far as I know, things have gone well. I haven't heard back from the Board of Health. We put signs up telling people that they had to be 6 feet apart and they had to wear masks. And I know Massasoit League, Brian Weddleton definitely put emails out to all of his his group and told people, like, basically, one person per player. And I haven't gone to a game just because I haven't been here. There's a game tonight and, I'm not there. So the playoff game is tonight. And then if they win another one Wednesday, and then that's it. So.
all right. Does anyone have any questions or anything else they'd like to say on that topic? All right. So the next topic on the agenda, really the next two, kind of go together. So the capital investment plan and the Pond Street update. So kind of the summary is last year we had to submit to the town administrator's office a outline of I think it was 5-6 year capital plan of what we're looking for in terms of projects for the Recreation Commission and recreation in general in town. This year, the town administrator is looking to get a little bit more information on that plan, not only updating our numbers and our timelines, but also she's putting together profiles on each project so they can kind of keep a running tally and a file on what we're looking to do. So the vast majority of our plan, there's a lot of, a few little items on there, all revolves around the Pond Street project that we discussed last week. And as it turns out, I can provide an update on that. So the bill that we spoke about, the bill that would give us or authorize us to buy the 43 acres of land from the Department of Correction, passed the House of Representatives, passed the Senate, and was signed by the governor since the last time we met. So the ball is in our court right now, so to speak, in terms of how we want to approach that. So the way it works from this point forward is someone has to initiate the purchasing of the land. The old bill, I think, had a 5-year sunset on it that this one doesn't have, I don't think. That said, I don't think there's a reason to let it sit and fester like we let the last one. So the big decision that we have to make as the group that's most likely or has the most incentive to actually go forward and initiate the process of purchasing the land is this the right time to move forward? And do we want to hold back? Because once we make that decision, that not only is going to affect town meeting, but it's going to affect our capital plan in the long term. Because we've really budgeted in our capital plan to start the Pond Street land acquisition now, and then the feasibility study, and then the actual development of the land in the following fiscal year. So I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere in between $10,000 and $20,000 that we would need, correct?
Well, it's 400 an acre. So there's a question. So we've had 43 acres in the capital plan, but and I had that in, but I think you had changed it to 41 in the last minutes. So
No, it's 43.
it is 43. Okay.
I looked that up today. I can confirm
All
that.
right. That's fine. So, I
But-
mean, the last minutes are the last minutes. I just wanted to make sure this is correct. So it's 43. So 43 times 400 is 17,200.
Right. So my question was, we allocated a sum already that was approved at a few town meetings ago for the original 5. So that 43 acres is inclusive, as far as I can remember, of the original 5. And the reason that was done was DCAM said that it would be easier for us to do everything in one transaction than to do 2 separate bills, 2 separate transactions. So I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember any number ever being 38.
Right. So the original bill, so the bill that passed in 2013 was for 5 acres.
Right.
That was to allocate 5 acres of the total 43. The bill that was just passed, I'm fairly certain, is for the entire parcel, 43 acres.
I think we need to clarify that.
I can check on that. But I remember having a conversation with DCAM and they said it's easier if you just redo the first 5 versus doing 5 and then doing another 38. I'm trying to.
Okay, we can just check on it. That's fine. And whatever it
this
is
here.
times 400, right?
Right. So, but my question was, is it even less? Because would we be able to carry over that original sum
Right.
because that came out of free cash too. So that was allocated out of free cash, not out of CPC funds. Let's see. 43 acres, yeah. So it's 43. So I guess the decision we need to make as a commission is, do we want to move forward with this now? And the only reason I put the question out there is because there's obviously a lot going on with the pandemic, and the last thing I want is to put it out on town meeting this fall and for people to have something to rail against as unnecessary spending. I know it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not a heck of a lot of money. And I think based on what free cash is, I don't know if you're able to confirm it, Ann, but I think based on what you had said about the availability of free cash is would have to go through CPC on this.
I think this is, I think this is definitely a CPC purchase. It's exactly what CPC is really the definition, because even if we don't develop, which we can't develop a lot of it because it's wetlands, it's open space that we have, and we have access to, I believe it will give us access to the river if we need it. We have, and free cash is tight. So I think people going to use free cash, people will push back, but I think it is the definition of what this community preservation, I mean, it's community preservation. It couldn't be any more.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Yeah.
smack exactly in the middle of what their directive is. I think it perfectly fits it. But the only reason I had brought it up originally is because we didn't use it, didn't go through them the first time. I've already spoken to a few of the members about it. They're aware of it. So if the commission thinks that now's the time and we want to move forward with that, I can ask Cindy to put it on the agenda for the next meeting and try to get a vote from the CPC to allocate that funding. That would then go forward for the fall town meeting, because I think the warrant's still open. So I think there's time to do that. So does anyone have a thought on that?
I think, didn't we speak about this at the last town meeting, or when the 5 acres was voted on? That was probably 2 town meetings ago, right? 3 town
It
meetings
was,
ago.
yeah, it was a while. It was a few town meetings ago.
So I think we can.
Yeah, folks are aware of it. I just don't want people to have something to shoot down for the sake of shooting it down, because I don't think that's going to happen, especially if it goes through CPC, because CPC has its own set of rules, own set of funding that's separate from school system and first responders and all that kind of stuff. But I'm good with that. So if everyone else is, I will ask CPC to put that on the next agenda, and we can hopefully get that on the next town meeting warrant. All right, so that brings us to discussing then the capital plan itself. So what do you need from us, Ann, in order to respond to the town administrator appropriately?
So I sent out a package today, and we can just start at the beginning. We had put everything sort of what we were interested in doing. The first is the HL Day school playground safety surfacing. The surface under the playground structures in the back have deteriorated over time and needs to be replaced, but it is school grounds. I mean, if you want to take this off, we can take this off. And I'm, at this point, recreation revolving funds aren't there to fund this project. So are you there?
I'm here, sorry, I was just pulling up the plan.
Yeah, I was reading it. But we don't have the funds for it right now, is what you're saying.
No. So if no, we don't. I mean, because of COVID, we don't. So it's definitely not happening in fiscal year 2021. So we can put it out. We can, we actually, more realistically, like we could actually, because playground safety surfacing does have to be planned on, and Pond Street, it's $5,000 to get a shipment of the playground safety surfacing. So maybe the better thing to do is to take off the 30,000 for 21, because that's not happening, And then make it all playgrounds that have have the wood safety surfacing, which is Pond Street. It's a small playground at Freeman Kennedy, and it's behind H. Olive Day School. And, to say that we're probably we might spend $5,000 in fiscal year 21, and then each additional year.
Yeah, why? So I'm reading this. Does she have this down as coming from free cash?
Oh, she does, but that's wrong. It says in the description, recreation revolving funds would be funding this project.
Yeah, all right. I'm fine with that, Ann. I don't think we should completely get rid of it. I mean, it's a worthwhile project.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something we do, but I don't think we have the money to, maybe we should put 7,500 the first year, for 22, so we could do some more on 2 playgrounds. And then 5,000 each after that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think phasing it anyway. I think if you do everything at once, then you do everything at once every time you have to go do it. If you spread it out, it's less of a.
Yeah, well, I think the 30,000 was really pulling everything out, and because it's kind of ignored, but it is the school property. So.
Yeah, do we own that? Is that
Who own it?
well, the playground on the school property? Are we responsible for that? Like, where does that fall from?
No, well, it's kind of a gray area. It really is that we don't use it so for any of our programs. So it really is the school's property, but I know they don't do anything with it. I know, and the idea that there's a playground somewhere that isn't maintained, it's goes against everything I can think of. It's so I have added when I purchased the wood 5R for like Pond Street, if I have half a load left over, I've had it delivered there. The other small playground at Freeman Kennedy, even though it's actually on the field side of the school, it's behind the fence. So that I think we do use, because if families are at games and kids want to go to the playground, they don't go over. A lot of parents don't let them go across the parking lot into the big playground, but they say you can go to the little playground. So we do use it, and we actually have maintained that pretty well. And I put down the rubber mats, and which make a huge difference.
I have no problem maintaining it. I was just asking. See what it is. All right. So I like that. I think that's a smart way to go. And I like a cycle of maintenance.
Yeah.
It just, if you try to do everything at once, you end up with the big capital expenses versus spreading them out over the time. So I think that makes sense. So let's see.
Okay. So the next item is the field restoration, and it's the town's various athletic fields receive heavy use by residents and sport leagues. This, in order to ensure that they are in good condition, they require restoration work on a rotating basis beyond normal mowing, watering, and grass treatment. The project ensures that funds are available to upgrade to or restore fields as need arises. Recreation revolving funds revenues are the intended funding source. It might be field maintenance. That might need to be recreation revolving fund and field maintenance. It's anticipated that the requested funds would enable the town to restore 1 baseball or soccer field annually. And it's $20,000 a year. Again, I don't know that we actually might be able to do some of it in fiscal year 21. I think we're planning on it.
Yeah, we put in a lot fiscal year 20.
Yeah.
So I think this goes back to what we just discussed with the playgrounds. I like phasing. I think, and I like being able to do 1 field a year, and that's kind of what we talked about with restoring that 1 field, is if we could start a regular maintenance rotation so we don't have to get to that point. My question is, I think like you said, the only question is how much do we need in the coming fiscal year? And are we going to be able to meet that?
Well, so right now, I will tell you that Little League field at Pond Street is not in good shape after this year season. Once again, the tractor has created a huge lip. I've talked to them about it. They drive the tractor about 5 times faster than they should be. And you can literally see what it's been doing. So
Yeah. I almost said something. I was there the other day and there were dust plumes all over.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I mean, you could have probably had a drag race in that thing with the way they were.
Yeah. It's an
around
apps. Honestly, those tractors on Little League fields are a disaster.
So the other thing is, could we attempt to budget this out using CPC?
Well, that's what I actually would like to know. I mean, would they be willing to restore a field every year?
So we have our recreation bucket, recreation and open space bucket that's dedicated to us.
10%.
From.
Right.
I mean, they have a big undesignated fund, but typically we pull from our fund. They're not going to ask any questions. I mean, I think affordable housing pulled like $200,000 last year from their thing to buy a house. So, I mean, if we come every year and ask for 20,000, it's from our funds, our recreation fund. There's an argument to be made there. I can't remember how much is in it right now, and it is recreation open space. So we split it with Conservation Commission. So they've used it for Highland Lake and I think restoring like some cemeteries and stuff like that. But we set precedent with restoring a field. That's the thing. It has to be a field restoration. It can't be. You can't use the term maintenance.
No.
In any way, shape, or form. It's with CPC, and it's not them. It's just the way that the directive is outlined. So I'm willing to put that in there because we've done it before. But it just depends on the work we're getting done. If we're bringing in Jeff Boyle to do leveling and edging and all that kind of stuff, I would say probably it's tougher. But if we're bringing in STS to rip up the infield and put a new infield, then I would say we have a better shot at it.
Yeah. I mean, the railroad, the railroad track field could really use it. And the Pond Street Little League field is getting close. So they're coming up. And I think 20,000 is probably conservative.
Well, so if I remember correctly, what the Pond Street Babe Ruth was, what, 14,000?
Right. At 14, about 14 prevailing wage.
Right. So there's smaller fields, but it depends. But obviously the Freeman, the AAA field was what, 45?
40, about came in at 40.
So yeah.
That was adding irrigation, which we wouldn't have to do, but that was probably a 5,000 piece bucket of it. And
maybe 20,000 per field, conservatively. If it, I mean.
Oh, it would, 20,000 is a field. But I think that's even, I think for a baseball field, it's probably 25. Everything froze. Will froze.
Can you still see me? I'm still moving around.
Yeah.
I think Will's the one who froze.
The Will.
No, Will's frozen. All right. Well, I'm going to just say 25,000. And then if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. It's our money. It's not like we're asking them for money. We're telling them what we're spending.
Yeah.
But if he wants to go to CPC, we can say not to exceed 25,000 a year.
Okay.
Let me see if he's.
Keep an eye out because he's probably going to go,
Yeah.
I'm back here.
Yeah.
This is Donna.
Hey, Donna.
note from June that there was 59,000 in the open space bucket for CPC.
Thanks. Yeah, he's still not there.
And you just, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, hold on. There he is. He should be. Is he back?
Yes, yep. He's reconnecting.
Okay.
I'm gonna lose my mind. I really.
So while you were gone, we decided to up it to 25,000 as a not to exceed amount.
Yeah.
And then Donna said that she has a note from June that there's 59,000 in the open space
Yeah. That,
recreation 10% bucket.
yeah. That makes sense. And there's probably more coming because it's a new fiscal year. So I would have to see from Cindy what the total is. But to me, there's always an argument there to be made. If it's in our bucket, you know, we can.
Okay, so we're changing this to CPC and we're upping the amounts to 25,000.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. The next one we've already talked about, the 17.2, and this would be CPC, and I would make sure that's corrected. CPC funds. And then the next one, with the acquisition of the state abutting 43 acres, the town will seek to design and construct the expansion of recreation fields at Pond Street. It's anticipated that there will be a new turf baseball field, lighting for various fields, replacement of tennis and basketball surfaces, additional courts for tennis, basketball, and pickleball, and possibly restrooms. It doesn't say a turf soccer field. It says a turf baseball field. I would be. Have you ever seen a turf infield?
Yes, Medfield High School.
Yeah.
It's weird, and the kids slide like into the outfield when they try to slide. It's hilarious. And they get called out because they just slide right through. They start at second base. They start in between second and first and second. They end up in the outfield.
Well, I think we should probably add a turf soccer field in here as well while we're asking for the moon.
Yeah. What about some other stuff about passive recreation? I mean, I don't know if passive or active, like trails, and we talked about like canoes, kayaks,
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Yeah, I think that we had talked about a long time ago. I haven't talked about this in a while, but like a canoe or kayak landing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be a big selling point anyway.
And then perhaps expanded trails. There are wetlands, so it's limited, but it could go. Especially 43 additional acres is a lot of land.
Yeah, it's
a lot.
It's a lot of space. I looked at the map. I think not only does it go deep, it's wide. I think it's like all the way down to like the big hill on Pond Street, or close thereby, something like that, and down the other end the same distance. It's a lot of space.
Yeah. So why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll rewrite that, but do we change the numbers? I don't know. Do you think is 50,000 for the design still reasonable? I actually don't think it is.
I have absolutely no idea. So I have never engaged. Maybe asking the town of Walpole what they incurred in their proceeding would be worthwhile, because
you know what? Great idea. They have 63 acres, but I'll ask the town of Walpole. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Try to do that tomorrow. Great
I'm
idea.
not sure. I'm not sure if they have even developed all 63. They have 63, but
Yeah. I can ask
we're
them.
looking to do.
Yeah, I can ask what they're doing and give me some numbers. Perfect. That's a great idea. Good going. And then, okay, so the next one, the purpose of this project, 25,000.
This is the next one. I hadn't seen this one before.
This is just the purpose of the project to remove. Well, the idea was that we would be adding another Babe Ruth field to Pond Street. And when that happened, this field would go away. Will's frozen in time again. All right, so I'm just gonna, can we make the executive decision that we're gonna keep it as is?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, all right. The next
Yeah,
one in.
this is way past my, I literally don't have any understanding of this, so I'm going to trust whatever you say.
Yeah, and I don't either.
So let me talk to you about the next one. It's kind of an interesting thought. So
Keep an eye out for them, though.
yeah, I will. Let me check while I'm still not there. Can you hear me? You can't see me now. Is that correct?
Oh, I can see you.
Oh, you can?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm looking at a list of people, so I didn't realize you could see me too.
Oh, yep.
So at Freeman Kennedy, if you're familiar with the fields, as you look at them from the fence and you're looking toward the football field, if you picture the football field sort of in the middle of an L shape, there's field H, which is the biggest field going down the left side. And then across the back is I, and then J comes up along the railroad tracks. I is the backfield. That field is plenty long enough, but it is short by about 40 feet. And my thought is, and that is conservation land. And conservation land, conservation does not give up land. But you can trade sometimes. You can maybe offer them something. So if we were to take 40 feet on that side, we would have another full-size soccer field, which would be huge in field allocation.
Huge.
Yeah. And
I like that idea.
yeah, and it's 40 feet, but it's conservation land. And the hard part is that the MBTA just like deeded it over to conservation, never asked who wants it or who needs it. So like it's next to recreation land, but it's conservation land, so we can't do anything. So this was kind of like, what can we do? Now this is listed as fiscal year 25, but I think someone should go to Conservation Commission and say, hey, what do you think about this? What can we do? So I want to pull that into 2022 because I think we might be able to convince them of something. And it's 40 feet gives you a whole soccer field, even more because it's so long.
No reason not to ask.
Yeah. So I'll bring that into fiscal year 22. I'm going kind of quickly through this just because meetings get long. They're hard. So the next item, additional or replacement fencing required in 3 locations at Freeman Kennedy School, which includes the softball field 2, the AAA field, and backstops. Yeah, these numbers are higher than this. Our fencing is really old, and we need some major repairs. The fiscal year 21 is probably looking at closer to 11,000, but I don't know where we're going to get the money. I was trying to get the amount. They haven't rolled over the amount from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. Oh, there's Will. Hold on. Hi, Will.
Hello.
Hi. So
I'm on my hotspot now, so I'm just gonna hope and pray that I don't get kicked again.
Okay, so just while you were gone, the Babe Ruth Field at Freeman Kennedy, we kept as is, the 25,000 for fiscal year 24. The next item, it's actually it's a guess. The number is 80,000. We don't have to tell conservation this, but if conservation was willing, if we could buy something for conservation and trade it for that 40 feet of land, we would get a new soccer field. We would get a full-size soccer field, which would make a huge difference with field allocation. And it's for about $80,000 to do that.
What was this? What is the land trade? This is the first I've read about it. And I obviously wasn't here 2 seconds ago when you were discussing it.
So if you look at the Freeman Kennedy fields, picturing the football field in the middle, and then the fields, H goes this way, like the football's here. H is the long field, the biggest field.
Mm-hmm.
I is this backfield that's very long, but it's not wide enough to be a regulation size, anything. The land on the other side of that is conservation land. It's flat. And if we got 40 more feet of land, we would have another huge soccer field. And that's, I think it's worth talking to conservation and say, what can we do to get that land? And more times, from what I've been told, and Cindy Andrade actually may know more about this, conservation may not want money, but they may want other land. Like if we purchased other land and traded it. They want land. Maybe we can give them part of the 43 acres.
There's plenty of land to go around.
Yeah. So I would actually like to move that up to fiscal year 22, because I think that's something that could be done sooner.
Yeah, it just depends how it jives with, I mean, if we added soccer fields at Pond Street, would we still need that?
We are always looking. Maybe we wouldn't have to use the outfield of the baseball field. Maybe we could have fall ball every year. Maybe, we are short of fields. Any way you look at it, we don't rotate our fields because we don't have a field to rotate. When you have grass fields, the ideal thing is to rest a field every year. The only way we rest a field is if it's in such bad shape we can't use it. So, I mean, we are absolutely in need of, you have a big square field. It's a soccer field, but it's a lacrosse field, preferably not, just because lacrosse is so hard. Girls lacrosse field's fine. Field hockey field, it can be used, for other things. Even I know that field hockey prefers turf, but we can mow it short. And those fields are beautiful. For all the dry weather we're having, if you go and look at those fields, they're green. And then the next item was the fencing. I think the 8,000 should be 11,000, and then another 25,000. Our backstops are not in good shape. I'm actually trying to get in touch with a leg fencing now.
Yeah, they were been rough. Freeman.
And then I don't have the numbers for the last item. It's very hard to get numbers from Island Lighting. So I'm gonna try again. And this would be to redo all the lighting at Freeman Kennedy. The poles that are there would be to take it out and put in LED lighting, and we could make it shine different places, and we could light the fields at Freeman Kennedy.
Hopefully Pond Street in due time.
Yep.
With the expansion. All right. The only other question I had on this was I saw that we took out the concession stand at Pond Street. I mean, obviously, concession stands aren't a thing at this moment, but in the future, I know we voted on money for that already.
Right.
But what would we be looking at for that?
Well, I think what it came down to was about 27,000, if I remember. I think it was 25, and then if we added a couple of other things, it was. With it all in, it was going to be about 27. If that was to go the route that we were going to go, but if we don't have the money right. I can't commit to having the money right now to do that, and we were going to be paying for it. So if in the Pond Street infrastructure, we were going to be putting in bathrooms. I don't know that we could probably put bathrooms and a concession stand in one building. It's actually a pretty typical thing to be doing.
Right. Off to the side, the bathrooms, then off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Investing money in Pond Street right now, if we're really going to expand it, we have to be smart about it, because if we're going to tear it up in another year or two, it's sort of a waste of money. So,
right.
All right. So does that cover what we need to cover on this? Did you need anything else from us in order to respond?
Nope. I'm going to try to get in touch with Walpole tomorrow. I hope I can get some numbers quickly. That would be wonderful.
If you don't, if you can't reach them, let me know. I know some folks over there from my time at the State House that love recreation. So, so if you have trouble,
But not in the recreation department. I
They were.
had actually, what?
they were. You know Patrick Shields?
Yeah.
He's assistant town administrator now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or assistant town manager, but he could get me in contact with folks. But you should be able, I'm sure they'd be happy to.
Okay. Well, I think I was going to say, I think they're new people at Walpole, and sometimes projects like this aren't really handled by a department alone. Some towns have building committees and things, so I don't know how much they'll know, but hopefully they'll know enough.
Yeah, I know they had enough of an issue with the town meeting, so I'm sure they have some PTSD from the whole thing anyways.
Okay. All right.
All right. So that brings us to, does anyone else have anything else to add, discuss on that topic? All right, so that brings us to CPC updates.
Can I just, it says Pond Street update. Is that just what you did earlier?
Yeah, that was kind of with the bringing it to CPC right now, and it kind of dovetailed nicely with the capital plan anyway. It probably should have been before capital plan. All right, so that brings us to CPC updates. There aren't many. We had a meeting. In fact, we had a meeting at the beginning of August. It was fairly short. It was just kind of reviewing and recapping some of our investments in the cemetery, Highland Lake. Nothing really huge pertaining to recreation at this point, but I will be reaching out to Cindy after this meeting to see if we can get the fields, the Pond Street land onto fall town meeting warrant through them. So that would probably go on our next meeting.
So can you ask about the $80,000 if we were able to strike a deal with conservation, if they would be consider paying for that?
Yeah, well, would that be a CPC question? I can ask Cindy for sure, but would it go through CPC?
It could. I think that's what I'm asking you to ask Cindy.
Okay, I can ask. Yeah. All right, I'll put that on my list. All right.
Before we go, I do want to just tell people a few updates about what's happening at the fields. It's quick.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So the irrigation at Pond Street is, there's potentially there would be a large leak. We kind of caught it today. There's a large valve. So that's going to be worked on tomorrow. So that's a good news. I think there was some, at one point, zones were wired together and they were not, one zone was not functioning, but I think we've got that back functioning. So that's good. If you notice, the right field of Babe Ruth is very dry and needs, and we've had some issues. So I will be asking DPW to reseed with our beautiful seeder that they should be happy to do. So I'm going to be asking them to do that this fall. And I'm also going to be looking into putting on a sediment filter on the well. Those are sort of the bigger things at Pond Street. And then DPW reached out to me today and said they're getting ready to edge fields. And I talked to Justin about this was last week or the week before, about getting a sod cutter and cutting the field instead of doing it with a shovel, which is I just can't even, it should not be done, but that's all they had to do it. So they haven't, so I've said, did you get the saw that you can use from highway? So they haven't answered me on that, but they're planning to edge field 7, the Babe Ruth field, field 4, and the T-ball field. So I did tell them that fall ball is hoping to take place, and I was going to tell them field 4 is the priority, but softball then emailed me today and asked if they could play, but then I was told they had finished. So I'm trying to figure out that too. But I think fall ball is not going to start for at least a couple weeks. Is that correct, Will? Do you know?
There are a few games this week already, but it's
Oh, no, they're not.
yeah, we can take it offline. I saw your emails earlier about some of yes. Yeah. Just two, but
What, from Norfolk baseball?
yes. I don't know who's coordinating it and through what.
I will be texting Barry tonight.
I'm not even sure he knows about it. I'm supplying umpires for these games. I don't know who it's gone through.
What umpires? The games
My
are,
umpire.
I know, but umpires for, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant to ask at all. Umpires for what age or location?
It's the Freeman, the AAA field.
And this week.
Yeah, I was gonna text you about that because I saw your email there. I don't know what the situation is.
It's not that fall ball, there isn't going to be fall ball. I mean, they're going to pay user fees. It'll be fine. But I mean, DPW is out there. I mean, I got the impression that it was going to be September. So they're out there working, and they, you don't get DPW to work that often with bigger projects.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up there. I think there's one Wednesday and one Friday. I think.
Okay.
Check that. Yeah, one Wednesday, one Friday.
All right. Well, I'll talk to Barry about that. And then, so there is one other, so if DPW is edging 4 fields, we had talked about getting them an edger, which is about $1,800. And if they provide the saw, I mean, the correct way to edge a field is to saw cut, and then you use an edger to pull out to dig out like the weeds. What they were doing before was literally using a shovel, which was honestly a waste of time. And it was like you were digging a edge for a garden bed. It was just not good. But the edger is $1,800. If they're really going to edge fields, they're the ones that came to me and said they were going to edge. I would like to propose getting them an edger if they commit to using it. They have provided the saw.
As long as it's a strong commitment, because didn't we buy them a cedar that they don't use?
Well, they're gonna. You may have been out. They're going to be using it this fall.
That might have been in my time I was banned from the meeting.
Yeah, but we have some dry spots, and I'm going to ask them to use the cedar.
Okay. Do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
And how much?
Oh, say up to 2,000 because I think I can't remember the number. It's 18 something, and I can't remember 23. I can't remember. Just say up to 2,000.
Okay, so I will make a motion to purchase an edging machine in the amount of no more, or let me rephrase that. I will make a motion to allocate no more than $2,000 for the purchase of a edging machine for the DPW to use.
I second it.
All right. Does anyone have any discussion on that? Any questions, comments? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Excellent.
I also think that might show some goodwill because I've been really pretty mad at DPW. I'm coming around.
Has things been working out with the new arrangement?
Yeah, a little bit better. Blair he stopped giving me schedules. He just, it's just, what was supposed to happen. I was supposed to be talking to David and Kevin. I have no way of getting in touch with David and Kevin unless I keep going to the fields, which I can't find them half the time. So then I ended up talking to Justin. So that's, and meanwhile, the schedule I'm supposed to get from Blair every week, I never get. But it's much easier for me to talk to the guys directly. It's just much easier. The other day they were like, oh, we're trimming trees because we don't have anything to do. It's like, you don't have anything to do? I have something for you to do. And they cleaned out around I don't know if you remember the flagpole at Pond Street. It was totally overgrown. Weeds coming up everywhere. It's all cleaned out. I'm going to buy new shrubs this fall. They're going to plant them. It's going to be, it's going to look nice.
That's fantastic. It's just because you know what needs to get done.
Yeah, and they were
No
more
one
than
did.
willing, absolutely more than willing and happy to do it. So it was great.
Awesome, awesome. All right.
And-
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? All right, so let's see real quick if we can set up our next meeting date while we're still on the line. Let's see. What do I have on that day? So I could say we could do the 21st. That's about a month out. That's about Monday night. We could do same deal, 7:30.
7:30 is fine with me. Heck, you can make 7:15. I'll be here.
That should be fine. You want to
Will,
do
what
7?
date did you say?
I said that September 21st, 7:30.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that-
great.
Is that a Monday?
That's
Yeah.
a Monday.
Okay.
All right, so we will do. Liza, does that work for you?
Yep, fine.
All right, let's do it. If does not work for Charlie, we can try to find another day. All right, then I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
9:12.
9:12. No, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is
Aye.
adjourned at 9:12 p.m.
Hi.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.